Have you ever noticed people slowly taking you less seriously without ever saying why? Psychology suggests this isn't because you're flawed or doing something obviously wrong, but because certain everyday attitudes are deeply misunderstood. In many cases, your mind is simply responding to the world in a way that feels normal to you but reads very differently to others. And once you see how this process actually works, a lot of confusing social moments start to click into place. If this resonates, you can like or subscribe, and let's start unpacking what's really going on. Number 1. The inconsistency virus. You say you'll call, you mean it in the moment, and somehow it still doesn't happen? So why does that change how people see you? Psychology points out that respect isn't built on intention, it's built on patterns, and the brain tracks those patterns quietly over time. When your words and actions drift apart, even slightly, people don't usually confront you or get angry. They simply adjust their expectations downward. You become someone they like, but don't fully rely on. What's misunderstood here is that inconsistency is rarely about laziness or carelessness. It's often a sign of someone who wants to do too much, please too many people, or keep every door open. The strength underneath is optimism and openness, but without follow-through, that strength turns invisible. Credibility grows in small, boring moments where you do exactly what you said you would do. And when that alignment slips, something else quietly shifts in how safe people feel around you, which raises a deeper question about how you relate to others at all. Number 2, the people-pleasing trap. Trying to be liked can actually make people trust you less, even though that sounds backwards. Psychology suggests that constant agreeing and apologizing doesn't read as kindness to the brain. It reads as uncertainty. When you avoid saying no, soften every opinion, or rush to keep the peace, you're signaling that your boundaries are flexible under pressure. That doesn't make you bad or weak. It usually means you're highly attuned to other people's emotions and want harmony. That sensitivity is a real strength. But respect grows from a sense of stability, and stability comes from knowing where someone stands. When your standards are unclear, people may enjoy your company while quietly discounting your authority. You become useful, easy to be around, but hard to take seriously. Self-respect isn't loud or aggressive. It's calm, and it shows up when you're willing to disappoint someone without abandoning yourself. And beneath that pattern is often something even heavier about how you explain hardship and fairness in your own life. Number 3, subtle arrogance. You leave a conversation feeling like you talked a lot, yet somehow no one really connected. What happened there? Psychology explains that arrogance doesn't usually show up as obvious ego or bragging. It hides in small conversational habits that feel normal from the inside. Turning stories back to yourself, offering advice that's really a way to showcase experience, or dropping names to establish credibility all come from the same place. A need to be seen as valuable. That need isn't a flaw. It often belongs to thoughtful, capable people who learned early that being impressive was a form of safety. The problem is that the brain reads these moves as dominance rather than confidence. Others may smile, nod, and stay polite while slowly disengaging. Respect doesn't come from proving intelligence. It comes from curiosity, restraint, and letting space exist. The most grounded confidence is quiet enough that it doesn't need to compete, and that silence says more than any explanation ever could. Number 4, constant complainer energy. You might think you're just being honest, but why do people seem more tired after talking to you lately? Psychology shows that the brain treats repeated negativity as a low-level threat, even when the words sound reasonable. When frustration becomes your default tone, others don't consciously judge you or label you as negative. Their nervous system simply registers the interaction as draining. This is often misunderstood because complaining usually comes from awareness, not weakness. You notice what's off, what's unfair, what could be better. That sensitivity can be a strength. But when every situation is framed as irritating or exhausting, people stop feeling safe to relax around you. Emotional energy is contagious, and stress spreads faster than calm. Over time, others begin to limit exposure, not out of cruelty, but self-protection. You don't lose respect in a dramatic way. It fades as people associate you with heaviness, and often, underneath that constant frustration is a deeper story about feeling stuck or unseen. Number 5. Victim energy. What happens when every story you tell has the same ending, where life keeps happening to you? Psychology explains that humans are wired to respect agency even more than talent or luck. When you consistently frame yourself as unlucky, mistreated, or powerless, listeners don't hear vulnerability. They hear a lack of control. That doesn't mean your struggles aren't real. Often, it means you've endured a lot and needed empathy to survive it. The strength here is endurance, but when struggle becomes an identity instead of an experience, people subconsciously pull back, not because they don't care, but because helplessness creates emotional fatigue. They don't know how to help without carrying the weight for you. Respect erodes quietly, replaced by pity or distance. What draws people in is not perfection, but ownership. And that shift from explaining why things happen to you toward choosing how you respond changes how others feel in your presence. Number 6, the I already know syndrome. Have you ever noticed people stop explaining things to you, even when you didn't mean to shut them down? Psychology suggests that interrupting with certainty feels efficient on the inside, but dismissive on the outside. When you cut someone off or signal that you already understand, the brain interprets it as closed-mindedness, not intelligence. This often comes from confidence and experience, not arrogance. You've seen patterns before, you connect dots quickly. That's a real cognitive strength, but respect grows from curiosity, not speed. The most capable minds tend to ask questions because questions signal security. When curiosity disappears, others don't think you're smart. They think you're defending something. Over time, people share less, challenge you less, and engage more carefully. What looks like authority can quietly turn into distance, and sometimes that distance isn't about knowledge at all, but about how safe others feel expressing themselves around you. Number 7, the unaccountable blame shifter. When something goes wrong, do your explanations always point outward, even when part of you feels uneasy about it? Psychology describes this as an external locus of control, where life is experienced as something that happens to you rather than something you participate in shaping. This mindset often develops for understandable reasons. If you've been treated unfairly, unsupported, or set back repeatedly, assigning blame can feel like self-protection, and in many cases, the causes really are external. The misunderstood strength here is awareness of systemic limits and social reality, but respect fades when responsibility disappears entirely. Others don't hear context. They hear powerlessness. The brain is drawn to people who can say, "This wasn't ideal, but here's what I'm doing with it." Accountability signals quiet strength, not perfection. It tells others you can be trusted with complexity. When that signal is missing, people may sympathize with you, yet hesitate to rely on you. And that hesitation often has less to do with blame and more to do with belief. Number 8, the invisible effort mistake. You work hard, stay humble, and assume the right people will eventually notice. So why does respect still feel out of reach? Psychology shows that the brain doesn't reward effort it can't see. When you hide your values, minimize your standards, or downplay what matters to you, others don't interpret it as humility. They interpret it as absence. This usually comes from integrity. You don't want to boast. You don't want to take up space. That restraint is a strength, but respect isn't built on silent suffering. It's built on visible consistency between what you care about and how you show up. This doesn't mean talking louder or proving yourself. It means allowing your principles to be known through clear choices and presence. People can't respect what they can't perceive. And when your effort finally aligns with visibility, something subtle shifts. You stop wondering how you're seen because your stance becomes unmistakable. What all of this really points to is that you were never losing respect because something was wrong with you, but because small habits were quietly speaking for you. Most of these patterns come from awareness, sensitivity, and a desire to do right, even when they don't land the way you expect. When you start noticing them without judging yourself, something steadies and your presence naturally changes. If this helped put words to things you felt but never named, you can like and subscribe and stay with this space. And if you're curious how some of the same misunderstood qualities can actually signal intelligence, the next conversation goes there.